Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, RockAuto.com, and by DieHard. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
Thank you, Alec Webb, the voice of MotorWeek. And this is MotorWeek podcast number 98, and we're in Studio C at our MotorWeek World headquarters. And joining me around a round table today is road test producer Ben Davis.
Hey, guys.
Writer, producer, two-wheeling reporter Brian Robinson.
Hola.
Writer Patrick Lucas.
Hey.
And our over-the-edge reporter Zach Maskell.
Hi.
Is that the most you can muster?
Hey, hi. How you doing?
A little more.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for the enthusiasm, and we have a lot to be enthusiastic about today. We'll get into the lightning round and reviewer question later, but first, it's all about the cars. We're going to cover a variety today, if the mouth starts working. The Lamborghini Huracán.
I guess
Close.
We'll start there. Yeah, Huracán LP 610-4.
And be very specific. It's 610-4.
What's the LP stand for?
Longitudinale Posizione.
Whoa.
Of the engine.
Basically, mid-engine. That's all.
Let's start with that one. This is the first new Lamborghini since the Gallardo.
Well, no, I think Aventador was probably after Gallardo.
The Aventador come after? Yes, it did. Yeah. Okay,
but
so
this
is the replacement for the Gallardo.
Continues the Gallardo story. Yeah, the Gallardo kind of launched now their Lambo's owned by Audi kind of launched with the R8.
Can you tell Brian actually had a chance to go overseas and drive this car? He's really pumped up about this one. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was worth the long flight. Anyway, the Gallardo, again, kind of based on the R8, that all-aluminum chassis, took the brand to new levels in sales, the most successful Lamborghini ever. This car kind of continues that. Still kind of based on the same chassis, but there's a lot of carbon fiber added into the mix now. And the big story with it is, like a lot of sports cars, I mean, you can't get by with a rough ride and a cobbled together interior in supercars anymore,
which used to be a Lamborghini pretty much trademark.
Correct. Everyone wants to be their supercars to basically feel like a daily driver, and the Huracán definitely achieves that. It's still got all the track performance. It's got the all-wheel drive, 610 horsepower, insane amount of grip on the track, DSG trans, no manual.
Oh yeah,
nice. But it's just a blast.
When you drove it,
yes,
having said what you just said, did you get it? Were you surprised? Had you been prepared for it to be so different? Was it actually feel as different as you thought? Because this car, they've got a lot based on this car. A lot of their future.
It's pretty much what I thought it would be and what I hoped it would be. Again, it's not totally revolutionary different from the Gallardo, just kind of furthering where they were going with that car.
Hugely refined.
But taking a big step, yeah.
Why do you think they avoid the Ferrari penchant for doing drastic styling changes?
Well, I think that's a big hallmark of that look, that super wide, flat look. They love that. That's what they are. And I don't think I shouldn't say never, but I don't think they have any plans anytime soon of going away from that.
It's certainly a big difference from, say, their rivals.
How was your headroom in that thing? Because I know Gallardo and stuff is pretty tight for a guy. That's,
I'm right at 6 foot, and, you could be a little taller, but there wasn't a whole lot more there.
Gotcha.
The rest of us that haven't driven the car, but we've seen it. Impressions? Were you disappointed when you saw it? Does that really matter?
I wasn't. I'd never be disappointed to look at a Lamborghini. I didn't think it was nearly as, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it wasn't nearly as evolutionary. I know it evolved a little bit, but it still kind of looks, it looks like what you would expect a Lamborghini to look like, which is cool and awesome. But I was hoping for something a little new.
Yeah, it's got a really cool gauge panel. There's no center screen on the center stack like most cars. Everything's just in an extra wide gauge panel, and you can split screen it and multi-screen it and bring up all kinds of configurations. like full-on beast track mode, or you can do like your daily driver with a huge nav screen, whatever you want.
Can you touch it, or is it strictly controls?
No, it's controls on the wheel and then an MMI controller.
Oh, okay.
They really try to distance themselves from the Audi with this car, and I think for the most part it is, but it's still got the MMI. The all-wheel drive system is still 70% biased to the rear, which is the same as Quattro, so I'm sure it's still all technically the same stuff, but it certainly doesn't feel Audi.
Did it seem more separated than the Gallardo to you? Did it seem like that?
From Audi?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, they definitely did a good job of masking that.
Zach, we've heard nothing from you. Any impressions?
Was there one at Cars and Coffee? Oh, that's the wrong podcast.
There was not one at Cars and Coffee. I would love to see one in person. It looks great from the front. Just got a nice rear. I think it's a good-looking baby Lamborghini.
It's a cool-looking car. I can't wait to actually get a chance to do more than just sit on it. The name comes from, why don't you give us the background?
It's Hurricane.
It's another bull. It's the Spanish name for the Aztec god of storms, I believe.
Hurricane, yes.
Yeah, and hurricane is a direct was taken directly from the name.
Yeah, and all the Lambos are named after some famous
bull,
fighting Spanish bull, which
you heard it here first.
Yeah. Well, probably not first, but
last.
Hopefully adequately.
Okay, let's move along to a horse of a different color, or a bull of a different color. This is the Kia K900. This is Kia's attempt to move even further upmarket, a steady march that we've seen them try and do for the last 4 or 5 years. This is a rear drive, highly premium car, their version of the Hyundai Equus, I guess. What did you think of it? Is it reaching too far for this brand, given how people perceive them, or what's going on here?
I don't know. I think Hyundai's had pretty good success moving up market, and I thought basically with that strategy was a good one, and then leaving Kia to be the not upmarket brand, but now they're trying to take Kia up there too. I'm not so sure it works. I mean, it's a decent car, and again, it's a car that they've sold in Korea for a long time.
Right.
It's not like they went out of the way to make it for this market or anything, but I don't know.
Would you buy a $65,000 Kia?
At least maybe.
I wouldn't buy it.
No.
Let's talk about the attributes of the car. You get in it. It has virtually every bell and whistle you could possibly want or expect, say, in a Mercedes of the same size. Well, dollar amount, it certainly beats the competition substantially. I guess the closest thing, I wouldn't compare it to an S-Class, but I'd certainly compare it to an E-Class. On the other hand, you get absolutely none of the status. And not being able to afford that class of car, I'm still under the impression most people in that class, in that rarefied atmosphere, want the status.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really get. I get the Genesis because that's a little smaller, a little less expensive. You can max it out. I guess the same thing with the.
And it's also more driver oriented.
Yeah, exactly, but you start getting bigger and you start higher price tag. I'm just not totally convinced. I mean, like somebody said, it is a good car. I mean, it's a decent car, but I just don't really understand it.
If you can't decide if you want an Audi or a Lexus or a Mercedes or a BMW, you would get a K900 because you can see little bits of all of those cars in this. It's a tribute to cars that you can't afford.
And probably save a lot of money, or at least $20,000 versus something of the same size. So I don't know. Kia, it also lacked one of the things that every Kia, other than it, basically has as an attribute, and that is some driving performance feel to it. I mean, whenever we review any kind of Kia product that is very similar in architecture to a Hyundai product, usually the Kia drives a little better, a little more steering feel, a little more chassis compliance. That wasn't the case here. This car was pretty much like an Equus with a different body.
It was a Luxo boat, like 90s Buick-ish ride quality.
Had some float.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. V8 sounded great. I thought it was going to have full air ride suspension, but apparently it's only got dampening adjusting in the higher end. So
So there will be a 6-cylinder version, which will be somewhat less expensive and probably have adequate performance. But I don't know. Good luck to them. It's a lot of money for a car that doesn't have a prestige image. Good car. I think we all agree on that.
It'll be a good buy in a few years.
A good buy in a few years, but maybe not exactly what we would be looking for if we could afford that price tag. Moving on to something that is in the same vein, but at the other end of the spectrum, the Audi A3. Now, here is Audi's attempt to bring an up-level subcompact into the U.S. market. They've had the A3 before, but it's only been a hatchback. It hasn't done that well. This A3 is a sedan. And basically, we've looked at Mercedes. They're doing it with the CLA rather well. Are we going to see more German upscale, really small cars?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, between if not cars, certainly SUVs, they all got the subcompact crossovers coming out. But, I mean, yeah, why not? It's probably the same size as what the A4 was when it came here, and same kind of buyer. And A4, I think, has been a pretty successful car. Yeah, why not?
Identify yourself as an Audi owner.
Yes,
so
Patrick Lucas. I'm an Audi owner.
Hi, Patrick.
Sorry.
I went on the A3 launch trip, and I came back very impressed. And then when I got a few months to cool off, and I came to the office, and I don't know, I wasn't nearly as impressed. I still really like it for what it is, but it's not the Audi that I know and am used to.
Well, because you're used to an Audi, what do you think it lacked? I mean,
it didn't feel. It still felt very nice and sporty and compact, but I don't know. It just didn't have that sort of prestige, or I don't know what the word is, but
do you think any part of that could have been because of the approach they took to the interior? They took a totally different approach. They made it very minimalist, a little old sports cars of the 60s type.
I kind of liked air vents. I liked that minimalist take that they took, but I don't know. I'm hoping that this car maybe allows them to maybe take the A4 in a more premium direction.
It's definitely got bare bones interior. That being said, it is still a nice interior. I just feel like they could have tightened a lot up. For instance, even small things like the seatbelts. If there's nobody sitting in the passenger seat, they just flop about in the wind. Some other things. Looks good from outside. The seats are comfortable, but they could be a little bit more sporty. Pretty good steering feel. It actually felt a little heavy at times. But, compared to the CLA, I know which one I'd be choosing. And, if the CLA is selling well, then this has got to.
Well, but the CLA probably sells well because, Mercedes has a little bit more higher, more premium appeal than Audi, but also it's a very stylish-looking car. This car really doesn't stand out a bit. So
it looks like an A4, really.
Yeah.
If you see it from a distance, you got to get really up on it, too. I mean, came back from a string of trips, and it was in the parking lot, and I thought it was an A4.
You can't help but mistake it.
I don't like this whole segment. I sort of like flip-flop on the CLA. I like the look, but I didn't have much fun driving it. And then the A3, I had fun driving it, but I'm not crazy about, I wouldn't be crazy about living with it. Now I feel like I don't like this whole segment.
It does seem like that each car has got half the equation.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, I will say that Ben and I have just driven the VW Golf, which we're going to get to next, and that's the same chassis. And I don't know about you, but we might as well move on there.
Absolutely.
I had a totally different feeling about the GTI.
You did?
Yeah, I mean, it
was over the A3, absolutely.
Yeah,
awesome.
I thought the GTI was just awesome.
Absolutely.
I mean, it just improved in every area. Again, the styling is evolutionary, but it looks like a Golf, and there isn't anything else that looks like it or that transcends it.
Right.
And it was tight, had good steering feel, which I actually thought the A3 felt rather dead.
It felt more like an Audi inside than the A3 does, for sure.
Yeah.
That thing, it is super premium now inside. Flat bottom wheel.
Really nice materials
leather.
all the way around.
It's a love fest.
Well, I mean, we had a chance. They were pretty good at the event. They gave you a lot to compare it to. We also had the electric version of it. I mean, they're going to try and expand Golf popularity by leaps and bounds. There's the TSI, which is the entry car, which isn't out yet. There's a TDI. There's going to be they're taking the Jetta wagon and turning it into a Golf wagon. But the GTI, which was definitely more mainstream than the last GTI, yet to me it lost none of its driving character. I enjoy it.
There's a GTI S now? Is that true as well?
The S is the new lower trim level.
It's not a sportier GTI.
It's not a sportier GTI.
That's deceiving.
Yeah, the GTI with the performance package, which comes later, adds the 10 horsepower and the electric differential, which is the first time that electronic differential.
And there's an Autobahn package and stuff. Basically, it's a nomenclature that it will never show up on the actual body of the car outside of the Monroney.
It seems like they took the previous GTI, which really stood out because of the front end, and they've homogenized it to really make this the mainstream Golf. I mean, you can go lower or you can go diesel, but this is the car they want Golf to be known for.
Right. It would be nice if we could go GT diesel, GTD. What's the word on that?
They didn't mention it at all at the event.
Yeah, I heard that now it's a no-go.
Yeah,
I don't know, but
that's too bad because that's a big market.
Yeah,
and the diesel engine's new.
Who knows if that's true? But just what I heard.
Anybody else have an impression? You've seen the?
I have never driven a Golf or GTI or anything. So
have you
not?
Nice.
I'm not a convert.
How is it because you didn't want to or didn't have the opportunity?
Just haven't had the opportunity.
Well, it's the original hot hatchback, and when it came upon the scene in the early 80s, it transformed. It
Basically,
was
what I'm getting at is I'm excited for it to get into the press fleet.
I thought it was just some Audi snobbery coming out.
That sort of sounded like it there for a minute. All right, Zach, any impressions? Small German hot rods.
They're awesome. I mean, it's one of the first cars that I ever fell in love with. I think the VR6 was the second motor to be in the GTI. But, I mean, it's just they're continuing to sell well, and Ben came back from the event, and he was pumped about it, and I was happy about it too, but then I just got bummed to hear about the diesel thing.
Yeah,
that's
it's not
disappointing.
confirmed. That's just a rumor.
Well, they did not mention it at all, but I think because they figure they can sell, I don't know, they can sell every diesel Golf they're going to bring in. It would seem like a natural to me to give that buyer something extra, but maybe they don't want it.
Awesome.
But we'll see. But anyway, the gist of it is the new Volkswagen Golf GTI is going to be a hit, and it's a terrific fun to drive, and it's a good move up.
I would like to compare one against a WRX here maybe sometime this year.
I think that's a good idea.
Unlike
that's
the A3, you can get a manual in the GTI?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, that's also odd. That I guess they just figure the Audi buyer doesn't want a manual anymore, which is too bad. But it's the same powertrain, so what's the big deal?
Yeah, I guess save it for the S3 maybe.
Yeah, they're pushing that Audi A3 to a lot of the millennials too. So not too many more people are
shifting.
They're just
they don't even want to drive the car anymore. Why would they want to shift gears?
That's true.
Yeah.
If I have to, I will. But
I probably won't be around to worry about that. It's time now for our lightning round. Our panelists have 2 minutes to debate trending automotive topics. When time's up, they're going to hear the bell. Okay. We're talking about all these different models coming in, and a lot of the manufacturers, primarily right now, the German manufacturers, and also I think Lexus, every time you turn around, there's some new iteration of a model. It's the four-door coupes. It's now Mercedes is going to do two different styles of SUVs. One's for the street and one's for off-road, and separate them. Is this getting too much of a good thing? Are they just cashing in on their popularity? Do these manufacturers need to try and invent new categories or provide absolutely something for everyone? Is it getting too confusing? With that, I'll hush. And what do you think?
Well, I don't know how much of it is really new models or just renaming of other models that have already been existed where they just called it a coupe. Now it's a whole different model. And so I don't know. Sure, I mean, people want variety. You want to have something that your neighbor doesn't have. I guess we'll get to a point where it is too much, but Yeah, I say bring them on. They can do so much. We're just talking about the Golf and the A3 on Volkswagen's MQB architecture, where they're pretty much every vehicle that Audi and Volkswagen is going to make.
It's going to be that
chassis.
chassis.
Be the same exact chassis, and they can stretch it and small. They can make it however to fit whatever car they want to fit. So I mean,
so why shouldn't they go after niches?
It's the development work is already done. Yeah.
I had in mind. I don't want to single out BMW, but I'm going to. 1 Series, 2 Series, and all those, and then you got 3 Series X3, 4 Series Grand Coupe X4, 5 Series X5, and you just keep
going, and there's going to be an 8 or 9 Series coming.
It's just
right.
That's a lot to keep track of. And is there a demand for every single one of those? I don't know.
Well, some of them are obviously small, but I guess it's the fact that these automakers are doing well enough that they can actually start plugging all these holes, because even if you're sharing a chassis, there's still development costs.
I wish they would all start making 2-seat roadsters. That'd be awesome.
Put some of that money into that. Zach?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're just catching up with what some other automakers have been doing for a long time now. But like Patrick just said, BMW being one of them, I mean, I'm slightly confused still. I sometimes forget what I'm talking about. And, I've been following BMW since I could point out what a BMW was. I'd like to say, yeah, it is a little bit too much here. But, from a marketing standpoint, go for it.
Actually, we're probably criticizing them for doing what domestic automakers used to do in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, which is fill absolutely every niche.
Sell lots of cars.
Sell lots of cars. Sell even more cars.
It is a business.
Okay, here we have a hypothetical question to do our mailbag segment on this podcast. You have your favorite racetrack. You have it all to yourself. You have a choice of 2 cars to pit against each other. What would be the most epic showdown that you would want to see? Gentlemen, start your engines.
Sure. Ferrari F40 versus today's new Porsche Turbo S.
Whoa.
And I would take, please don't punch me, but I'll take one guess at what track I'd pick.
Which one?
Nürburgring.
Oh, well, okay.
I need to get on it.
Once you're on it, you'll never drive anything else like it.
Wow.
Brian?
I got to get over there too. I don't know. I'm not real good at hypotheticals. I like to see old stuff versus new stuff.
No, I do too.
I don't know if I would
say.
pick a particular, whether it's like a Mustang or versus a new Mustang, or Ferrari versus old Ferrari. I mean, obviously the new one's going to be better in every category, but I don't know. Just to see how things have changed and to see, maybe it is better, but maybe you still like the old one. Just I like old versus new stuff.
Patrick?
Just off the top of my head, I've been reading a lot about Porsches. I've been very interested to see if they're bringing the Cayman, but they're making that cranking the performance on that way up. I'm curious to see how that would stack up against a similarly equipped 911.
Or like a last-gen 911.
Yeah.
That would be even better. That'd probably blow it away.
Ben?
Good one.
I would probably pick some old stuff too. I would probably, the track doesn't matter so much, but I would think like an old one of those 300 SLR going racing Benzes.
Oh, that'd be kind of cool.
Maybe I'd put one of those up against maybe one of those rally Audi 100s, those full rally things, and maybe the venue would be off-road rally, and I'll put that 300 SLR on the rally track and see what happens. See if it could fly with the doors open.
Yeah, they used to rally those things.
I think it would be kind of amusing to go back and look at.
Oh, I changed. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I changed.
No.
Addendum.
I would take that super raced out Audi 100 rally car versus one of those Porsche 959 Dakars, the rally stance 959s. Pit one of those against each other.
I think it'd be fun to take. I like the old versus new too. I think it'd be fun to take something like that M235i and put it up against a 2002,
nice.
And say, okay, not so much how they differ in performance, but what about the experience for the driver?
Right.
Is in one case, and my guess would be that 2002 wouldn't nearly perform as well, of course, but you'd really feel a part of the car. Where as good as the M235i is, you'll feel more like a passenger. But I think something like that, where you get into the actual personal feel that you get, the thrill you get, is kind of a cool thing. And thank you. That brings to a close our MotorWeek podcast number 98. I want to thank, first of all, the folks behind the scene that make everything possible, our audio engineer, Jim Bigwood, our podcast creator, Bob Mixter, and Patrick Lucas, who is also our podcast producer. Thanks, Patrick, for being here also as one of the reporters. And we also have Zach is here as our Over the Edge reporter. He had a lot of contribution today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ben Davis, as always.
Thanks, guys.
And Brian Robinson. We wouldn't be able to do one without you.
Wow.
And thank you all for listening to our podcast, for catching MotorWeek on both public television and for Velocity. And until next time, I'm John Davis. Thanks for listening, watching, and being with us on MotorWeek.
You have been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, RockAuto.com, and by Die Hard. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at motorweek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series each week on your local PBS station.